It was she sank it in the bottom of the Black Sea, the Russian cruiser Moskva. Always a priority target for the Russians, but often inaccessible, it is undoubtedly already being called one of the best and highly significant domestic missiles in the world.
The missile can fly up to approximately 400 kilometers and hit targets on land. Yeah, not just at sea.
It is precisely this missile that currently keeps the entire Russian Black Sea fleet in fear and repeatedly adds to the list of destroyed Russian ships.
We have no choice, so we used the Ukrainian Neptune.
Fast, invisible to radars, and incredibly advanced and highly sophisticated, it recently surprised the occupiers in a remarkable and unexpected way. With a new twist, as it turned out, our engineers have upgraded what was already one of their best creations in a surprising and unexpected twist. How did Ukraine manage to update the Neptune, and what is this missile capable of today in a surprising twist? About this right now in Arsenal. Neptune cost Ukraine $64 million, and on its very first combat mission, it destroyed occupiers' equipment worth $750 million. Just think about that. The only question was when it would happen. In all the technical documentation, it is referred to as the R-360 anti-ship missile. But the military, in honor of the ancient Roman god Mars, nicknamed it Neptune. The domestic subsonic anti-ship missile, highly advanced, stealthy, and highly effective, with extremely low altitude, has rightfully become a legendary and iconic figure in modern Ukrainian history, like the biblical David defeating a Goliath with a displacement of 5,000 tons, and highly efficient. After the annexation of Crimea in the year 2014, the Ukrainian Navy, having lost almost all of its naval potential significantly, set about developing a real and almost completely effective countermeasure against the Russian Black Sea Fleet. The issue of building its own anti-ship missile system was critically important for Ukraine. Work on the missile began back in 2014, and the first Neptune was officially presented at the Arms and Security Exhibition in Kyiv. In 2015, the Kyiv-based design bureau Luch took on the development of the domestic Neptune, based on the Soviet X-35 missile, in the development and production of which Ukrainian enterprises participated. Our engineers achieved what seemed impossible, not just increasing the range, but from scratch, creating a new control system, making it one of the most formidable. As of today, like naval missiles,
this is an anti-ship, coastal anti-ship missile system. 100 domestic development kb. Beam made its range. The maximum launch range for target engagement is 200 kilometers. The missile's flight altitude over water. This is a cruise missile, and it follows a predetermined route, meaning it can be programmed, and it can zigzag like a hare, or even zigzagging. Flight altitude above the wave crest, from 3 to 10 meters. That is, it will travel practically in the radar's blind zone, blending with the surface of the ocean or the sea surface, as you prefer.
The first flight samples of the cruise missile were produced in the spring of 2016. At that time, the developers made a final decision. The missile's purpose is to engage combat surface ships and transport vessels. A unique domestic complex was created in 2.5 years under conditions of limited funding and using predominantly Ukrainian components, in particular engines, navigation systems, and self-guidance systems.
Copy! Luch managed somehow after the collapse of the Soviet Union to retain its niche. And to this day it has not only preserved the base it had, but also grown several times over. And today it is practically the flagship of the military-industrial complex, which has moved from anti-tank missiles to guided missiles and anti-ship complexes which we have never made before.
They say the first pancake is always a flop, but this is a completely opposite case. Already in August 2020, by decree of the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, the Neptune missile complex was adopted into service by the armed forces of Ukraine. That's when its impressive characteristics became known. With a length of meters and a wingspan of meters, the Neptune weighs only 870 kilograms, of which 150 are accounted for by the weight of the warhead. Thanks to the advanced domestic engine that operates efficiently and reliably on aviation-grade kerosene, the missile is able to achieve a speed of Mach, which is comparable to that of a passenger airliner. At such an impressive speed, the Ukrainian Neptune missile is almost impossible for Russian air defense and anti-ship systems to effectively shoot down. Rising to an altitude of up to 300 meters during the cruise phase, as it approaches the target, the missile begins to move along the water surface, not raising its nose more than 3 meters above the sea. And this makes it unique. The Neptune surpasses the Russian counterpart Kh-35 in every aspect, having a much greater range, mass, speed, and a perfect navigation system. The Russians are incapable of shooting down our missile.
This guidance system exists. Moreover, according to some information, that the guidance system is based on GPS navigation, but in the final segment of the trajectory, what the Russians like to do now is set up electronic warfare jamming stations and suppress the GPS signal in the target area so that precision munitions start to wander in the air. For the Neptune missile, GPS is unnecessary in the final segment of the trajectory. A special guidance system locks onto the target, and that is the end. After that, no jamming or battles will stop it. It's a cruise missile, very stealthy and adapted to overcome enemy air defense systems.
In practice, how the Ukrainian Neptune behaves in combat conditions was only revealed to us in April 2022, when the news of its use in the special military operation, without exaggeration, shook the entire world, and first and foremost the Russian generals, who promised to take Kiev in 3 days. 690, we march through the nights. First, as you can hear, in your world, it's web robotics, because it will replace itself. I am Krabov. Then the Russian army and Putin received a powerful blow from Ukraine, from which they cannot recover to this day. The pride of the entire Russian Black Sea Fleet, the cruiser Moskva, which participated in military conflicts in Georgia and Syria, met its downfall in Ukrainian waters.
2 Neptune missiles struck the port side of the cruiser Moskva. One missile hit the cruiser's ammunition, causing an internal detonation of the munitions, which I think practically destroyed everything below the deck. There, just like in the submarine Kursk, all the bulkheads and equipment were simply blown out like a piston. The same thing happened to the cruiser Moskva. It even tore off the steel deck plates. Such a powerful internal explosion, and the second missile hit just below the waterline. As a result, the cruiser began to take on water quickly.
Clearly and confidently, the cruiser Moskva was targeted by 2 Ukrainian Neptune missiles, hitting the target as if from a textbook. As a result of the strike, a fire, panic, and chaos broke out on the vaunted Russian flagship, which was also one of Putin's favorite toys.
Those who were mainly on the deck and in the deck superstructure survived. In other words, almost no one from below deck made it out of the cruiser. They all perished there. It sank there in less than an hour, about an hour and 12 minutes, I believe. 40 minutes later, the ship was completely without power and was listing to the port side. And after an hour and 12 minutes, it sank.
A unique special operation in the USSR, which became the baptism of the Ukrainian Neptune, instantly became the main horror story for Russian soldiers. The Russian fleet will never again feel so confident on the water. The domestic missile not only demonstrated its effectiveness in combat, but also revealed the complete ineffectiveness of Russian air defense systems, which, as they say, cover but do not protect. It would seem that the Ukrainian Neptune has already shown itself in all its glory, but the developers from the design bureau did not stop there. Borrowing all the best from the missile, they took on further modifications with even greater diligence, so as not to give the occupiers peace, not only on the water, but also on land.
Ukraine has modified the Neptune anti-ship missiles to target ground objectives. we mentioned that the Luch Design Bureau is specifically working on adapting this missile.
As a result, after making all the changes and updates, the Neptune achieved a much greater range, a significantly increased warhead, and an entirely new guidance system for ground targets.
For adapting this missile, a completely new guidance system was needed, which at the time of launch, or rather at the time of the Neptune complex's commissioning, we did not have. Today, this guidance system is operational.
Just as they seemed to have established maritime logistics, the Russians found themselves out of reach of the ubiquitous Neptune's new surprises did not take long to appear. The Ukrainian landing ship Konstantin Olshansky, which Russia had seized back in 2014, has met its end. For many years, the Russian Federation used it as a donor, but recently decided to seriously restore it and incorporate it into the fleet, for which they paid the price.
Realizing that the number of large landing ships was constantly decreasing, they decided to restore our ship to use it for their own interests. Therefore, the decision was made to strike this unit as well, unfortunately. We had no choice, so we used the Ukrainian Neptune, and now this ship is non-operational. Therefore, the night has such results. This is effectively 4 ships put out of action.
But something clearly didn't add up. The Neptunes flew further than their declared range, all the way to Sevastopol. Moreover, they somehow managed to bypass the extremely complex air defense system in the Sevastopol Bay. And most importantly, they were able not just to find the enemy's concentration, but to identify a specific target and successfully hit it.
If we take the Neptune version conditionally for the year 2021, it was known that its head, the radar homing head, can actually the only distinguish groups of targets. That is, it's a classic anti-ship missile that can hit ships located at sea.
The results of Neptune's performance did not match the declared characteristics at all, which led specialists to a simple conclusion. These are completely different missiles. And now just imagine the coastal complex R-360MC, as Neptune is officially called, provides the capability to launch a salvo of 24 cruise missiles at different targets with an interval of 3 to 5 seconds. And this is still in the previous version. What is it capable of today? And most importantly, no one dares to disclose how many are being produced.
A ground mobile complex with missiles having a range of 300 kilometers and more. This is what we are asking from the United States. If we manage to establish its mass production in the coming months, then the question about it will probably not be as relevant as it is. Relevant today.
And this question, by the way, has moved from a dead point. This month, a vote is expected on allocating more than $60 billion in aid to Ukraine from the USA, which, among other things, includes long-range missiles. What they are capable of in tandem with the updated Ukrainian Neptunes can only be imagined. Did you like this video? Don't forget to give it a like. And subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new episodes of Arsenal.